In the land of the free and the home of the brave, there's a spooky little secret hiding behind the grins of politicians and the roar of military parades. America's nuclear system might just have a weak spot. Ben Olorenshaw, a journalist who loves diving into doomsday topics, wrote in The Hill that the US depends way too much on one key system that, if knocked out, could send things spiraling faster than your Wi-Fi after a thunderstorm. He pointed at the E-6B Mercury aircraft, America's flying command post, which, instead of soaring 24/7 like it used to, now spends more time chilling on the tarmac. According to Ben, if a missile, drone, or Martian death ray hits it while it's grounded, the president could lose the ability to say, "Fire back." Big yikes, right? But hold up, bro. Before you dive under the table with a tinfoil hat, you should know the system isn't that flimsy. America's nuclear command and control is more like an indestructible spider web. Cut one thread, and there are a dozen more ready to carry the president's fiery messages across the globe. It's built on a detect, decide, and direct model. Basically, if some rogue state gets frisky and launches something spicy, satellites and radars will pick it up faster than your grandma spotting gossip at a wedding. Once a threat is detected, the big dogs in uniform gather in a secure room that probably smells like coffee and stress. They don't panic, nope, they review plans, calculate risks, and plot out the best response. No coin flips involved. Then comes the magic moment. The president gives the order. And that order is sent through a communication system designed to work even if the world outside looks like a microwave burrito exploded. The system is layered like an onion of doom. If one path breaks, another route kicks in. Think of it like a GPS with 40 detours, you're gonna reach your destination no matter what. Back in the Cold War days, the US had EC-135 aircraft flying 24/7. No breaks, no weekends, just cruising in circles with a mission. Don't let the nukes go silent. They were called Looking Glass. No, not for vanity, these planes acted as mobile command posts, ready to take over if land-based facilities got turned into craters. Looking Glass wasn't just a backup, it was a giant middle finger to anyone thinking of launching a surprise attack. You hit us first, we'll hit back harder, from the skies. Even so, Looking Glass wasn't the only tool in the box. America's system isn't like a single pair of flip-flops. It's more like a closet full of steel-toed boots, all polished and ready. It was assumed from day one that if war ever popped off, the Pentagon and Strategic Command HQ would be the first to go. So of course, backup plans were written before the main plan was even printed. But what if the planes got nuked too? Or ran out of gas because the refueling tankers got zapped? Don't worry, Uncle Sam's been there, gamed that. The Air Force ran simulation after simulation. They had war games where everything was broken, burning, and blasted to bits, but the nukes still got launched. People running this system, both military and civilian, train like Olympic athletes. Not for medals, but to make sure Armageddon goes as smoothly as possible. These drills aren't done once a year in some dusty corner, they're constant. When they say 24/7 readiness, they mean it. Even their coffee is probably operationally secure. In 2022, the Biden administration doubled down on America's nuclear posture. Yeah, we can launch while under attack, they said, but that's not the only plan. We're designed to take a punch and hit back. Translation: they don't need to panic fire nukes the moment they see one coming. They can ride out a first strike, brush off the ashes, and then start pressing buttons. America's strength isn't in going first, it's in surviving first. That's the flex. You hit me, I'm still standing, and now I'm really mad. That's why the system's built with redundancy as its backbone. Everything's backed up. Then the backups are backed up. Then those backups have little cousins just in case. But backups mean nothing if you don't use them. So they throw resources at training, maintenance, and upgrades like it's Black Friday for missile defense. If America wants to stay scary, their nukes can't just exist, they have to be part of a whole ecosystem that guarantees the president's voice will always be heard, even if he's screaming into a radioactive hurricane. Because nuclear deterrence isn't about the biggest boom, it's about the guarantee of a boom after you've already been hit. That's why they've got communication systems under mountains, in submarines, flying in circles, even embedded in briefcases carried by guys in sunglasses. And yeah, there are satellites. High-tech ones, low-orbit ones, probably even one disguised as a star just to keep things spicy. Even if every plane was down, every base destroyed, every general on mute, America still has ways to say, fire away. That's not luck. That's design. The president doesn't need perfect conditions to order a strike. If he's stuck in a bunker with no phone, you can bet there's still a way to say, let's roll. Their communications aren't just fast, they're strong. hardened against cyber attacks, EMPs, and teenage hackers with too much time and too little supervision. Ben Alarensshaw's concerns about the E-6B are real, but zoom out, and you see it's only one gear in a massive, rotating machine of war preparedness. It's like worrying about a single soldier's shoelace when the whole army's wearing steel boots. Annoying, maybe. Dangerous, not really. The military knows nukes are serious business. You don't play chess with a flamethrower unless you've trained to win, even if your queen explodes. Every detail, from satellite bandwidth to backup launch codes, gets analyzed, tested, and tested again. There's no oops in nuclear planning. And if things really go south, the system doesn't collapse. It adapts. Just like a cockroach with a doctorate in engineering. So while the E-6Bs may not be flying all day every day, they're still part of a whole structure that was built to survive the end of the world and still make a phone call. In conclusion, America's nuclear command system isn't perfect, but it's tougher than it looks, and way smarter than most people realize. You don't bet the fate of humanity on a single button. You build a network of buttons, keys, codes, satellites, bunkers, planes, subs, and people ready to press them all, just in case. Because when you're playing the highest stakes game on Earth, hope isn't a strategy. But having 99 contingency plans. Now that's nuclear swagger. Some say nuclear war is all about missiles and megatons, but in reality, it's about communication. A bomb means nothing if no one's there to push the button, or worse, if no one can hear the order to do it. That's why America's nuclear command system isn't just built to go boom, it's built to talk through chaos, to whisper orders through firestorms, and to scream back after silence. The people behind this system aren't just soldiers and suits, they're planners, engineers, nerds, and warriors who've asked themselves every terrifying, what if, imaginable. What if we're blind? What if we're deaf? What if all the satellites get taken out by a cosmic bowling ball? There's an answer to each of those, and it usually starts with, we've trained for that. No joke, these folks simulate worst-case scenarios like it's a hobby. Nuclear war Wednesday, sure. EMP Friday, done. Zombie attack Monday, probably covered. Why? Because the worst time to improvise is after your cities are on fire. You don't wanna be Googling how to launch retaliatory strike while the missiles are still in the air. That's why the chain of command is reinforced from top to bottom. If the president goes down, there's a list of successors so long it might include a Taco Bell manager. Even the iconic, nuclear football, that mysterious black briefcase, isn't a magic remote. It's a gateway to systems, codes, and communications that are cross-checked harder than a celebrity's tweet in 2024. It takes multiple people to confirm launch orders. It's not a solo mission. There's no, accidentally nuked France, scenario here, no matter how clumsy someone's hands are. Meanwhile, the planes may not fly 24/7 anymore, but that doesn't mean they're collecting dust. They're upgraded, tested, and treated like VIPs on standby, ready to roll the second things get spicy. And don't forget the subs, bro. America's silent giants under the sea. They're basically floating bunkers with mood swings. If all else fails, they're the last ones standing. Their mission: stay hidden, stay ready, and if the call ever comes, launch, avenge, and vanish. Cold-blooded poetry with a torpedo launcher. When it comes down to it, deterrence works because America made sure its enemies know, even if you land the first hit, we will still finish the fight. It's like a haunted house that punches back. The more terrifying the second strike capability, the less likely anyone wants to mess around with the first. That's not warmongering, it's war preventing. Peace by paranoia, security by over-preparedness. Welcome to strategic deterrence, baby. Sure, it may sound overkill. Do we really need this much backup? Well, imagine you're skydiving, and someone asks, is one parachute enough? Yeah, that's what we thought. So, Ben Alarenshaw wasn't wrong to raise concerns. That's his job. Journalists point out cracks. But in this case, it turns out those cracks are just part of a much larger, reinforced wall. A wall that's been pressure tested for decades. Attacked in theory, broken in simulation, fixed in real life. Again and again. And while no system is indestructible, this one is designed to outlive destruction, to crawl from the wreckage, flip the switch, and still make a long-distance call to revenge. Because when you're holding the fate of civilization in your hands, you don't rely on luck. You rely on layers, drills, fail-safes, and systems that can operate even when Earth looks like a Mad Max sequel. At the end of the day, America's nuclear command isn't just a weapon, it's a mindset. One that says, we never want to use this, but if we have to, nothing will stop us. So the next time someone says, America is vulnerable, just remember, vulnerability doesn't mean unarmed. It means planning for the day the worst actually happens, and still standing when the dust settles. As long as the spider web of command, control, and communication remains intact, even with a few broken strands, there's always a path for the message to get through. And if that message says, "You messed with the wrong country," well, may the launch gods have mercy. Because whether the E-6B is flying or not, the message will get through. The system was built for the apocalypse, and it's not afraid of the dark.